Hey guys, it's Luke Paints, the miniature painting coach. Alright, so let's continue from where we were off the last time. Now let's just go ahead and place our camera over here like we normally do. And let's just go ahead and bring this over here. And so if you're new to the channel, this is the main screen where we paint. The one on the side here is where you guys can kind of see how my hands move. The one on the top here is the color theory wheel, and then down here is going to be where the brushes and the paints are listed, and my reference is going to be down here, of course. Now my reference is going to be based on this Magic the Gathering card, and we're only really going to take the lighting for it, for small little things like how this yellow transitions into this soft purple when it goes into the cloth, and how that contrasts it. But we're not really going to depend on this for its color. We're going to depend for its light values. We're going to actually use the color wheel on top here, which is something that's just kind of within my head right now as we go ahead and paint. And this is the miniature that we've been painting over here. So you can see that I've kind of blackened out the base for the most part, and we can see how the lighting is. However, there are parts of this lighting which will take time in order to develop, and we just kind of keep going until we hit the spot that we want. Alright, so I want to show you guys my wet palette for a moment. And so we just kind of added this black over here, and this black is this and ivory black from De La Rowney under their Kryla paint line. And this this black paint is really thick, and I've been using this black paint in fact this same tube since I think 2008, I believe. So that it's been a really long time, but I've had that tube since college. I just kind of took it in inches because it's so thick and it's so dense that you don't really need a lot of it, and so you need to thin it a lot. So it's really worth the buy. Now, okay, so you can see that base is there and it's just really thick, and I'll probably need to smoothen it out. So let's just kind of do that. Let's just kind of look over here. And we can see that it's kind of drying up, not in a really as neat a fashion as I would like it to be. So let's just kind of do that while we think over about what else do we like to work on our miniature today. So I do like her lights and darks, but her darks right now are really just way too black, and they don't have a lot of color information in it, and so it's not a very interesting model in the darks. And perhaps I should bring up the darks so that there are color in it. And so when you turn around, see, when you have an object that's in the dark and you turn it around, the human eye knows how to automatically change the perception, so your eyes will adjust to being able to see that object despite it being in a black place or black state. So, and it's usually lying more so on the color blue or turquoise, depending on the circumstance, more so at night. And there's a particular reason why that is, but we're not gonna get through in the video because it's a pretty dense topic. Now what we're gonna do here now is we're gonna put this magenta over here because we are working with green, and so I've already decided that we are going to have our shadows on the magenta side, and so we'll be able to see this nice shift in contrast as we go along further and further while we paint. Now, having said that, it's also important to realize that this base right now that I'm doing over here, what am I really doing? Well, I'm defining the colors and the hues in order to figure out the space that my miniature is in, right? Is she somewhere where it's complete pitch black, for example? Alright, so give me a moment. Okay, so I had to go away for a little bit. Now, let's look at our miniature. So we see this and we see a really nice stark contrast. And this is good. This is actually what we really want. Oh, hey, I have my cat here who kind of wants my company. Okay, so let's just continue. So let's kind of go ahead and define that turquoise so that we can blend that into the purple that we have down here. Well, alright, sorry about that interruption. Whoops. It's because my cat is surgery, and so I have to kind of keep her around the room. And so when she needs something, I have to attend to it right away. So back to what we were doing, we're adding this turquoise over here to blend into that magenta. And so you can see that there's this kind of small little transition going in. And you're gonna keep taking more magenta and kind of blend that turquoise into that robe. And what happens is that we're gonna get this nice soft little purple to indigo, and it's going to blend into the robe. You can see that how it moves in over there. We're gonna do it to the other side as well. So we just kind of get that nice little transition. So this indigo would move that green that we have into that dark space, and we just need to kind of lay it off really carefully, not to be a bit too dense with it. And see that this indigo is really fitting, and it's really hitting the spots really well. So we're gonna make sure to do that to the hair as well. And yes, although this hair is for the most part orange, it needs to obey light and color. So we will still be doing that. So let's just kind of pop this over here, have more turquoise over here, and then we just kind of take more magenta, and then we'll pop it in. And oh, I really love how those colors are moving. Oh, my cat's back. Yes, I love you too. Sayana, go down here, my feet. Come say. Sorry about that, guys. I do like my cat really wants attention right now. Oh, but she's been sleeping with me for every night. And, she's just love you. Okay, so anyways, let's continue to what we were doing. Just kind of go over here, wrap it up over here, and so over here later on we'll kind of overlay it with some light colors and really define that. However, we really need to figure out where else does this shadowy colors really drop on. So one more will be underneath this sleeve here. In fact, the sleeve is gonna need quite a bit of turquoise to really color off the shade. You can see how that really shifts the color once I place it on there. That makes it a lot more natural. Okay, so where else? We are also going to place it right here on the staff. Over here, suitable. Okay, give me a moment, guys. Let me attend to her real quick. Okay, well, let's kind of take a look at her. This is just kind of on my lap. She really wanted my attention. Okay, there you go. There we go. Oh. Love bites, isn't that great? I have a cat spit all over my hand. Oh, okay, that's fine. Let's just kind of continue on over here. And as we were getting on to what we were talking about, we were painting the indigo and the turquoise and those dark shadows. So in case you guys are wondering what color was I actually using, I'm using this. So you can see like it's kind of a green, but you know, when you understand your color theory right, which is really important doing any sort of painting and any sort of art, is that the problem with if you take paints directly from bottles, you get this really cartoony look where the shadows just look like they are of the same color. And if you're going for that look, like for what certain Games Workshop stylizations of painting color, then that's fine. However, if like you want those crazy changes in color that's more akin to how it is in real life, then this is kind of like the extra step you're gonna have to take, in which you need to study a little bit more of color theory to understand how the color spectrum really works, and how that's supposed to work in coordination to one another. And it's not really like there's a cheat sheet for it on it or anything like that, because, well, it's the human eye is a really funny thing, because basically color, the way we see it, is that it's not like really there. There's light values and there's light energy, but we're getting what we're interpreting and what we're seeing in color is how our brain interprets certain wavelengths of light. So it's going to be different from person to person, and which is why color is quite a broad topic in art. Now, how that really applies to us then is, well, how are we going to use the information for what we want to do? And see, I took this teal over here, and I really like this color change, because when we want to define what we do, like over here, I'm going to put on this yellow, right? So I have this yellow and I have it on really thick, and I put this yellow on over here, and so we're gonna overlay, shade that off as we go along, because we want to make sure that we get that yellow a lot more controlled. So we're just gonna fade it off in this way slowly, and then we're also gonna take turquoise and then overlay to the side. And so you see how much colors I'm putting on this base to kind of really unify it together with the model. And this is something that is a very important step in order to make sure to get the color changes right. And this is what they mean by getting color transitions done in a certain way, so you get more out of painting your miniatures. You can see those colors are just really coming along. So give me a moment. Okay, there's a lot of interruptions in this today's vlog. I had to go and turn off the air conditioner, because it was really hot today, and after I turned it on, it like became really cold, and a lot more colder than I expected it to be. Alright, so let's continue on where we were. So we're working on this base. Let's kind of put that aside so the camera can kind of focus on what we're doing. And so we notice how this black is quickly becoming, I mean, the darkness here, not really a black, but it's becoming like this grayish tone that's somewhere in between turquoise, and then it's kind of like purple, and at the same time it's green, and then there's parts of blue in it, and there's a bit of indigo. And that's actually what we are striving to get, because light isn't it isn't smooth, and it actually reflects. You have objects all around the environment reflecting color off of each other, right? And especially in the dark, you can't really see what's going on, but there are hints of those colors in throughout the environment. And so when I have this blue over here, I'm keeping in mind about the dress bouncing off. And so now we've already got our main colors out of the way. We're going to actually add annotations in order to figure out where certain things are. So I do know that this space that that she's at, where she's kind of using the staff, and the staff is going to be a lot more of a brighter brim. What I mean is that over here is going to be the lightest of the value, right? And then it's going to shine onto her face, because human skin just reflects the face off. But we're also going to add these annotations of blue, let's say over here, because it's part of the code. So if I would just kind of take this in and just make sure that camera is kind of focused, and then we can kind of see that leg up there. So we want to make sure to have that dress properly reflect the parts of it. So just kind of put annotations like this, and then we're gonna take a bit more and put it in smaller hints over here, like so. And those, right now we're gonna blend it off later so it's not too bright. And then we're also gonna put parts of blue, sorry, teal rather, on the side of the her sleeve, and we're gonna do that ever so slightly. So okay, so now we have those, right? So what we're gonna do is that we're gonna take our medium again, and we're gonna also preload that. So I have the medium over here, but we're gonna add some magenta. So now I have a magenta with that medium kind of mixed in together, and I'm going to actually put in like this, right? And kind of blend it into the recesses, and also to the color changes. And be like, well, how is it from green over to like turquoise, and then back goes to a green, and then the teal, and then to a magenta, and then a teal again. And because there's just small little changes that you have to play around with when you are identifying the items in the scene. So this magenta I need to depict as a reflection of that sleeve, which is red, right? And then at the same time, I also need to add an annotation for the bouncing of the dress back and forth. So after I've kind of placed both colors down, what happens is that it's going to have this nice little transition that you see. I'm just kind of placing this teal down, but it registers to the human eye as more of a blue now, right? And so what we'll need to do later on is we're gonna darken that with a little bit of magenta to show that it's part of the darkness. We just kind of go at it like this, so it's transitioning really softly from one color to the next, and it's doing so in a way that the human eye can perceive it. Okay, so I need to clean my head because don't want to shift all that color all around that I just got on my index finger. Oops, my cat is gonna drop off my tie. Oh, she's just kind of over here. I just need to make sure that she's comfortable while I paint. Oh, give me a moment. All right, and it's great right now because there's quarantine going on in this time of year with COVID, right? So I think everybody has to figure out their own ways of getting the stuff they want done. All right, so I have my turquoise again, and we're gonna actually put the turquoise over here, and balance it out with the magenta. So we're gonna have a nice cold color over here. Place it down even further because it's not so simple when you're painting shadows in like everything becomes warm if your lights are cold. I think there's somebody out there who kind of plays that cheat sheet. So the cheat sheet that I'm talking about is there's this kind of off simplified ruling, I guess, that some people would say, or some painters would say, and it's not just in miniature painting, it's all over where if you're painting lights that are cold, your darks need to be warm. And if you're painting your lights to be warm, then your darks need to be colder. And it's about color temperature. And I'm not quite sure how true that is because or at least for me, when I observe real life, it has moments where it goes off from one to the other, and so it feels like there's a lot more complicated things going on in reality that's offsetting that rule. And because when I look at painterly art, right, done by illustrationists, concept artists, or miniatures that follow that rule, I mean, it's really simple to look at, but you know that it's not like real life. It doesn't have the same complicated changes like you have in real life. And I'm not saying that I'm doing a better job at it by doing it in this way, but I do know that other painters that even when they paint abstract, but they mix around with the darks that are both cold and warm, and the lights that are both cold and warm, to get this kind of nice effect where it seems like it's real life colors. Like even though the shapes and the subject matter is really abstract, but it feels like you're looking at something that's somehow really natural to the human brain. And you know, if you ever seen paintings like those, and perhaps I should talk about painting in general, so as a separate video where I can kind of overlay with different images and stuff like that, talk about it. However, it's those small little things that make up for a great painting. And so it's what I think people really strive for when they look at a painting piece that's might be even abstract and doesn't really have anything figurative about it, but it speaks a lot to the people viewing it because of the color combinations. So it's not really about the figure or the object that's inside the painting. So you can see that I'm kind of putting on this here to kind of reflect the green now on the miniature from the dress. So we just kind of pop and kind of go a bit in little space and pieces, and just kind of go at it really softly, right, like this. So I really like color changes like this that are really soft, and we just kind of go at it. And then we're gonna also place a little bit of I'd say brown, because then we're gonna simplify the colors in between here a little bit, and that's okay to be simplified. We're also gonna add a bit of black, so we're gonna take our medium, a little bit of black, and we're just gonna douse it in the middle of here, and we're gonna be able to see the nice little unification of those colors over here, and blend it into that red area right here. All right, let's just kind of put on this turquoise. Okay, let's put a little bit more turquoise on. All right, down here, and then we kind of blaze it off a little bit. I don't know if you guys can hear the ambulance in the background, because the COVID cases in my country for positive cases have suddenly risen from like 200 to right now it's 40,000 in like the matter of almost 3 weeks. So we have quite a problem, right? In the meantime, I'm just kind of here coaxing along, making sure my life and my immediate family is at peace with what's going on and prepared. So anyways, let's get back to painting. Don't really want to bother you guys about stuff like that now. Okay, so we kind of put on this magenta, and you can see that this sleeve, right, this is the color that we want. You want to see that magenta and that red and that orange kind of going together and mixing together, blending in together into that nice little green that we have, right? So we just kind of put that there again, like so. And then we'll kind of add just a tinge of the yellow at the sides, like this. Oh, look at that. Look at how it flows. Okay, so now we're gonna also just kind of take it off. Oh, we'll take a much more finer brush for this. Actually, no, I can work with this. So we'll just kind of flick it off like this, really softly. So we have the annotations move on to the side. So we still see that it's a red sleeve, but we know that the colors are being jumped around by them. So we'll put on whatever that's left over here, so it's not to waste the paint. And because it's in the area that's the dark, we can just kind of have it gloom in together all together, right? And it's coming together real nice. Okay, so you can see that today we worked on from quite a lot of the darks and the blends that goes in between. And let's get rid of this small little guy that just kind of hid over there. And we have done the colors on our base. We do want to add just a little bit of teal over here to make sure to get this side, and we will add a little bit of our primary cyan. You notice how I naturally don't reach out for that primary cyan as much. I'm talking about the color that's over here. Whoops, let's just zoom out. So this is a primary cyan that I have, primary cyan, and that's a teal, and that's a turquoise, and they're all in the same cyan family. But notice how I'm almost always reaching for this, and occasionally I'm reaching for that one, and that's because certain paint color pigments in the world are only, you can only attain them through specific materials. So you have to buy. So although I'm working with primaries, in that I'm using the primaries of paint, which isn't red, blue, and yellow. I'm using cyan, magenta, and yellow, right? However, I can't really mix this teal because it's just if you take turquoise or any kind of cyan and mix it with magenta, one of the colors that you get is blue, and blue is not the kind of potency that you have with teal. And so when I put on this teal onto this place here, notice how it goes into, let me just kind of zoom in for a moment. If we notice, like, it moves from teal over to this indigo. That's brilliant, because that kind of movement from yellow to green to like a teal and then to indigo, that kind of movement is really how the natural color spectrums just kind of radiate into one another, and it helps it blend into one another. And so it's those kind of things which I strive for, and how I define myself partly as a painter. And now I'm just kind of putting that magenta there to add that hint of the background of whatever might be more so on the magenta side. So let's just keep going, because there's gonna be things that are red and brown in the environment. So we need to make sure to respect those by giving them the colors that are due. And so notice how I'm kind of moving this magenta over here now into this dark place to kind of add on to the colors that we have. And again, we're gonna add a little bit of turquoise to make sure to bring that blend towards our green. And so we have a proper contrast between that yellow orange that we have at the end going to a much more purple hue. And what color is that? Well, it's a mix of so many colors, but the human eye will register it as either on the purple spectrum, the brown spectrum, or the indigo spectrum, depending on the angle at which you're looking at the miniature. So it allows for a much more colorful, much more deep, and much more harmony of colors to come together, and it won't look too comic-y, because as much as I like watching comics, I don't enjoy painting in comic colors. I tend to like muted colors a lot more, and muted colorful colors in spurts. So we're gonna place this here, and for the last minute of me painting miniatures, I'm just gonna perhaps talk a little bit more about what we could do in order to make this a little bit better. Because right now as it is, we need the paints to dry, and we need to really plan out what we want to do next for our next session. So first off, the color that's over here is not bright enough on the sword. The sword is a really important piece on this miniature, apart from the splashes of paint, the splashes of color that's reaching on the back of her hair and the edge of her sleeve, stuff like that. But that sword really needs to stand out on her back. Okay, if we're looking at this angle, for example, for this most part, this angle is pretty fine, except that the tassels, I believe, that's kind of on her cloth over here, because right now it's just really hard to look at. Those things need to be defined, and they need to be highlighted. So we'll probably go and add on some paints to there to really identify the colors for that. From the front, it's mostly done, except the light is not exactly reaching to make this part as bright a green, and we'll kind of do that in the next session. So it's a matter of correction. This sword over here is not showing the magenta that is casted in the rest of the environment, because we can see here that there's a red and indigo that comes from these two directions. So we need to reflect that onto the miniature as well. And notice how she slowly become like a really painterly illustration-y piece, which is good. And then over here, we'll need to draw out a lot of colors and really distinct what colors are in the rest of the environment that doesn't have anything to do with the other parts of the miniature that we've painted. So it's only gonna really be on this side of the sword, and it's gonna be really subtle, and maybe just a hint on the fingers and onto the sleeve, but that's going to come last. Okay, so let's just kind of look at the face again and see if that we've kind of miss out anything. So we're mostly just double checking while we're waiting for the paints to dry. So see how the face right now, maybe that the right side of her I wouldn't say serious look, right, is not as defined as I'd like it to be, right? Perhaps the white in her eye is not glinting as much, because if you're receiving a light, then you should have some sort of a soft glint, but a nice potent spark that you can see in the eye. I really like the blend that's already on her chest area. It feels mostly complete. And we don't really need to do anything about that metal yet. We're gonna leave all the metal parts. I'm not quite sure what was that, like a waist necklace that she has on the waist, on the hips, and then the sword, we're gonna leave that for last. We were going to do a little bit of true metallic metal, but it's going to be really subtle, because that sword really needs to have its own shine. We need to be really careful about it so we don't ruin the illustrative look that we've already accomplished on this miniature. And we need to also define the environmental colors that's coming onto the sleeve, right? And including the underneath her arm over here. So those are the things that we really need to work on. However, if we kind of look at her from afar right now, she actually looks really good. She already has a story to tell. She has the lights bouncing off of her really well, and I have parts where I don't exactly like it just yet, of how the way it turned out, but we'll leave that till the next sessions. Okay, so toodaloo and take care. Bye bye.